What I'd like to talk about next is the two main ideas that are present and that are active in this world of ideas that's swirling around us and developing all this activity that we see. These two primary ideas are kind of the source for all the other ideas that happen. The other ideas kind of come from these ideas, if you will. Um, the ideas are they concern what the identity is of the thing that is host to the ideas themselves. What it is that's responsible for thinking the ideas. Uh, One of the ideas says, okay, the identity, the self, the thing that's doing the thinking is this separate entity that is apart from the rest of everything. The other idea says that the self that's active actually includes everything. So one idea says the self of things that's active is apart from everything. The other idea says the self encompasses everything. These two ideas, these two ideas are the primary ideas. And what you see is throughout history, throughout the history of evolution, organisms have been slowly adopting this idea that what it is that's acting uh, includes everything. They've been slowly moving from a separate identity to a more and more inclusive identity. So the early organisms that we see in the fossil record are single-celled organisms. They're just one cell. You know, that's the self. It's this one little package of material with DNA at the center of it. As time went on, these organisms learned to bind together and form multicellular organisms, which work together and have a common identity. So the identity is expanding. The identity is no longer one single cell. The identity now includes many cells. And of course, multi-celled organisms can be very effective. When the cells work together, there's a lot that they can do. They can be very strong. And they can start to do things that are more intelligent than what single cells by themselves are capable of processing. Of course, multicelled organisms, it didn't stop there. You get organisms that have many tissues inside them. They don't just have one tissue or colony of cells. They have many different tissues, many different colonies that are working together. And now that's the expanded identity. And from there, you have multi-organed organisms. They have many different, not only do they have many different tissues, they have many different structures that are composed of different types of tissues that are working together in different ways. Now all these organs are coming together, and this is an even further expanded identity. Then you get organisms like ants. Ants, where now you have more than one body, actually, that is coming together and acting as a single organism, acting as a single identity, making decisions together as a hive mind, as it were. So these identities are gradually getting larger and larger. This is what's happening. We're slowly starting to accept this more and more expanded identity. And of course, the reason for that is that the more expanded identity is stronger. There's more that it can do. It's able to process more information. It's able to be more intelligent. It's able to integrate more information. At the same time, though, this separate identity doesn't just cease to be attractive altogether. You know, it would be simple if it were that, you know, we all just recognize that the expanded identity is what we want, and we just make it happen, and, you know, we all immediately join together in that way. But that's not the way that it works. There's this constant interplay, because the separated identity remains attractive. It remains attractive because it seems like it offers an increase in power. It seems as though it makes it possible to get something that you otherwise could not get. This is, you know, for example, cheating and breaking the established rules or protocols that have been set up amongst people that make it possible for people to act as a unified community with unified interests and processing information together and taking care of each other. It makes it seem as though, well, if I cheat and I start to act as a separated identity, well, I can get more than the other people can get. And so I should do that. And there's many times that idea takes hold for that reason. And of course, when it takes hold in one place, in one human being, or one thought that a human being has, it then, just like the memes of Richard Dawkins, that becomes a basis for it to spread to another mind, because, or another place within the mind that includes all people and all living things. That place in the mind sees that and says, well, if that person is going to act that way, and act from separated self and get more, then I should do the same, or else I'm going to get cheated and I'm going to get less. And so the ego, our separated self identity, now spreads to that other mind. And just like any other idea, it keeps spreading, it keeps growing. So there's this interplay. Both ideas are attractive. The expanded self, because it's stronger, it makes it possible for everybody to have much more when we accept it together. And the separated self, which says, I want more for me, and I can get it if I adopt a separated self identity. So, in many of our political circumstances that we see, including conservative movements, socialist movements, leftist, authoritarian, egalitarian, democratic movements, these two ideas are what's at stake. These are what's at stake. When we hear about capitalism is very much a mixed bag. On the one hand, it says, okay, well, everyone should act out of selfish interests. And by doing so, the good will come about for the whole. Well, acting out of selfish interests, that's very much talking about the mind of separation, or the identity of separation, which is often called the ego. That's the mind of separation. However, there's an added element to it. In another way, capitalism is actually talking about the community mind, the community identity. And the reason is it's talking about shared responsibility for decision making. It's talking about people making local decisions about what is best in their local circumstances. Whereas other forms of social organization, such as communism, all the decision-making authority is restricted to the powers that be. It's restricted to the people at the top of a hierarchical pyramid who are supposed to make the decisions for everyone. And by restricting that decision making to those people at the top, that is actually a form of separated identity. Because it is saying that the people at the top are the ones who are making all the decisions, and therefore that's the mind that's active. That's the identity that is active, is the top of that pyramid. That's a separation. They're saying the top of the pyramid is separate from the rest of the pyramid, and that top of the pyramid is calling all the shots. That's the separate identity. So, separate identity And together identity, these ideas come together and sort of swirl together in our different organizations and structures that we see. And we're yet to really produce a system that really is thoroughly dedicated to the together identity. However, that's the direction that we're going in, because that's the direction we've always been going in ever since single-celled organisms. We've been working out the details and slowly developing these larger and larger identities that include more and more. So that's what's happening on the level of humans as well. And pardon me, it's just a matter of seeing how it unfolds, to see how it unfolds, to see what systems we come up with that allow us to do this. We're going to, because it's stronger. We're stronger, and we have more of what we like. We're able to process information better. We're able to make better decisions. We're able to have more fulfilling lives when we act from this together identity. And we're going to see that. And we're gonna work it out. We're gonna find a way to make it work. It'll happen. So that's what's really going on.